You can do that on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk TV. We've got one of our favorites back in the studio today, Mr. John Rodgers. He's with the Mississippi Gem and Mineral Society, and they're back with one of their biggest show of the year. So welcome back, John.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
And we were trying to figure out if it's been last year or the year before, but all I know, Mr. John, is every time you come, you teach us something new when it comes to the gem and minerals here in our great state and get us excited about the upcoming show. So what year is it for the show this year?
Well, it's the 66th annual show.
66. That's going to be a hard year. 66th annual.
It's bad if you have a lisp.
Hey, well, when you get through this year, then it will be a little bit easier. Okay, so this is a standing tradition, as we say every time, for families and people around. What do you think has kept it coming to Jackson for 6 decades, almost 6.5 decades now?
Well, I got into it because I like pretty rocks. And I think that's true for a lot of people. They like pretty rocks. But there's the jewelry aspect, there's the kids' play, and there's a lot of learning that goes on. And that was one of the things I really wanted to mention this time, was a lot of people are really familiar with two aspects. That we have the geodes for the kids can buy these geodes and break them apart, and then kids can do these little gem trees, which are fun and keep them occupied and out of the parents' hair, that sort of thing. But then in addition to this, we also have a touch and see table. So the touch and see can familiarize them with the rocks that they find in Mississippi that are common to them. They can pick them up and touch them and ask questions and learn about them. And then in addition to that, they have a scavenger hunt that they can use to go all over the building and find different aspects in the room. Get stamps here and pick up some material there, and then when they finally get back, they get a bag of real pretty polished rocks.
So the trademark is where this will be, and it's coming up this weekend, correct, John?
Coming up this weekend is Saturday and Sunday. It's from Saturday from 9 to 6 and Sunday from 9 to 4.
And you take up the whole, not just you, but the whole show will take up primarily of the trademark. This is not just some small show. This is a pretty large, substantial event that's going on at the trademark.
Well, we're on one side. You've got the trademark divided up into 2 building areas, and one of them is the gun and knife show, and the other one is us. And we get about 2,000 people on Saturday and about 1,000 on Sunday. So we usually get a pretty good crowd.
That many people like pretty rocks, John?
I guess so.
Well, I think I've always said it's so neat to me how you guys are able to connect what's just in our backyards, whether we find it on a hike or whether it's just sitting right by our back porch or when we're coming into the front door. And you get to explain that there's like history there. It's not just a rock. There's so much more that's going on with that thing that you stub your toe or sweep off the porch or find as a kid in the backyard. When did you get your fascination with rocks? Before you were fascinated with pretty rocks, I'd assume you just liked finding rocks.
Well, I don't know. I was so young back then because it goes back a ways. But right now, there's just so much more that I find out when I get together with these people. That's one of the things I encourage people to do for the show is if you have rocks, if you have fossils, if you have arrowheads and you want to find out more about them, bring them with you. We've got people around the room, not in the booths. We have 28 booths with people selling things and items, and be glad to talk with you, but their main focus is selling and making some money. But around the edge of the room, we have 2 geology departments from the schools here in Mississippi. We also have the geology office, the Office of Geology from Mississippi, paleontology from the Museum of Natural Science, flint knappers, who know a lot about the arrowheads and such. They can often look at an arrowhead and tell you what Indians fashioned that arrowhead based on the shape and the way in which it was chipped, so to speak, carved, knapped.
What would people be interested, Mr. John, to know would be in their backyards, at least here in central Mississippi, when it comes to rocks?
Well, central Mississippi can have a real mixture. When the glaciers were melting and moving south, they got as far as Memphis, about in that region, and then melted and flushed that gravel through the state. So if you'd been in Clinton, say, at that time, you would have had water flowing on either side. The Mississippi River was not the narrow river we think of it today. It was many miles wide, 50 or more miles wide, and deposited gravel throughout the state in that manner. So, people could wind up digging in their backyard and finding some rocks that came from Michigan or Lake Superior, this sort of thing.
And they wouldn't know that if they didn't have the curiosity to pick them up, put them in a little bag, and bring them to a show or connect with the Gem and Mineral Society.
Right.
And then the other part to it, John, you brought a few rocks with you or brought some things. When you start to polish these things, it is fascinating to me how you take, is it okay to call it dusty? Ugly is not the right word, right, John? Dusty rock. And with just a little bit of time and energy, you turn it into something beautiful, really pretty, that people turn into jewelry and keepsakes and things of that nature. Have you gotten into the polishing and the turning things into jewelry part of it, John?
I've done some of it. Yes, I have. I have several things that I've polished and wire wrapped, that sort of thing. The first pendant I think I did for my wife was a square 2-inch by 2-inch black rock with snail shells that were fossilized inside this agate, and then polished that up for her and wire wrapped it for the fun of it. And yeah, ever since then I've been hooked.
When you found, if I remember your story a little bit correctly, John, you found the Gem and Mineral Society a little bit later. I don't know if that's not your profession, correct?
Right.
And so what encouraged you to maybe be a little more curious the older you got when it came to a childhood pastime that you enjoyed so much?
Well, the club itself was very friendly, and the people are always interested in talking with you about their interest and teaching you. And I found several people that were willing to teach me how to wire wrap, how to do a cabochon, which is that rounded domed rock that a lot of people polish. They were very easy on me when I made mistakes. And
how do you make mistakes with rocks? Is it just over polishing, not polishing enough?
Well, there's not polishing enough, and there's when you're slicing rocks and you're using a saw.
You can't make that bad. You can't bring that down.
Well, it's interesting. The saws, when you're talking about a rock saw, it's not a rock saw that has teeth like a wood saw. This grinds it, so it's got diamond on there and everything. And if you just take your finger while the saw's blade is going, which you don't want to do because it's using a lubricant and you'll be splashed from head to toe with oil. But if you were to do that and just gently put your finger on there, it wouldn't cut through your skin. Your skin is nice and soft. It needs something hard. Now your fingernails will go right through that.
Ow. Have we made that mistake before?
No.
Okay. But so when you say make mistakes, it's not like cutting wood where measure twice, cut once, because you can't necessarily put it back. Is it more like painting where you can maybe come back and scuff it up a little bit and then go back over it?
Well, you can't add anything more to it once you knock it off. But at the same time, you can reshape it and come up with something different.
There's a lot of wisdom there, Mr. John.
I knew a person that used to slice rocks, and she'd get the slice, and then she'd drop it on the floor. And she'd drop it on the floor intentionally just to see how it would crack. And then once it broke and cracked and everything, she said, well, that's taken care of. Now I can just take those pieces and find out what shape they were meant to be.
Most people who turn their rocks into jewelry, are they finding them, or some of the vendors sourcing rocks from other places and then creating their jewelry?
It's a real mixture. Yeah. Once you get into it, first of all, you start looking for rocks on the rock hunts. We have about once a month we go on a rock hunt.
Hang on to that, John. We're going to go on another rock hunt with you coming up next here on Good Things. Mobile device, just head on over to SuperTalk TV. Continuing our conversation with John Rodgers. He's with the Mississippi Gem and Mineral Society, and they're having their 66th annual, I said it right, John, Gem and Mineral Show at the Trademark coming up this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Correct, John?
That's correct.
That is correct. And you were talking to us about the Mississippi Gem and Mineral Society. You guys have been around since, what, the 1950s or 60s?
It was the 1950s, 1957.
So when did the group get together and say, you know what, there's so many cool things here in Mississippi, we all need to get together and share our information and go on these rock hunts?
The rock hunts are great to do, and you get a chance to do your own rock hunt in a way when you go to the show because there's all sorts of rocks there. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you're going to see, Jeff McGraw has an artifact shack down in Ocean Springs, Bay Springs, and he's bringing some of the best of his collection with him as a sort of a mini museum right there. Mm-hmm. And then you have the touch and see for the little kids or big kids. Myself, I like it because it has all the rocks that you typically would find in Mississippi, and you can touch them and look at them and pick them up. Other places, you're not supposed to be handling it that much, but now they're encouraged to do that. And in addition to that, I'm also supposed to mention this for people that are teaching earth science. If you're a school teacher, either in a public school or non-public school, and you're teaching earth science, there are some modest grants available through the Mississippi Gem and Mineral Society. You go to the webpage, missgems.org, and at the very top you'll see grants. And you can click on that and find out about how to get in touch with them and write a grant, what's needed. And there's 2 different times of the year when they take in the grants. They have a deadline, and then
get kids out there hunting, rock hunting.
Right. Then they offer some money for those teachers that are teaching earth science in their classes to help them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I hope if even if you're not a teacher, if you've got one in your family, pass that information along to them, because I think anytime you can, help a teacher out, but number one, expand the opportunities kids get, I think that's really cool. Kids don't go on rock hunts like they used to, do they, John?
Well, we have to have a limit because you have insurance anytime you go on these rock hunts. And so the insurance says we'll go to, I think it's age 7, but maybe age 10. I'm not sure. I have to get back in touch with people.
That will come out and do rock hunts with y'all. So when the Gem and Mineral Society goes on an official rock hunt, where are you going? Walk us through a day in a rock hunt.
So you get a person that finds a site that will allow us to go in for that one day, and we all meet at a place that's within a 30-minute drive of the location, and we caravan to the site and get out with our water bottles and our boots and chairs, this sort of thing, and hats, and just spend for maybe 4 or 5 hours going through there. Sometimes frequently you have a stream running through that area, unless it's a gravel bed. But you have a stream running through there frequently, and you find rocks in the stream, by the side of the stream. And, of course, it always changes from time to time, because if you have any type of rain or weather coming along between the last time you were there and that time, it's going to change. It's going to be different. You'll see new things that'll be revealed.
What was your proudest, or what is to date your proudest find?
My proudest find was a shell that I thought was just a normal shell about 2 inches across. Mm-hmm. And I gave it to a friend of mine that works at the Museum of Natural Science. And she gave it to the curator there and found out that it was a common shell, but normally found about 10 times smaller. And this was the largest one he had ever seen. And I thought, well, it looks like just a shell to me.
But it's never just a shell, is it, John?
You never know.
You never know. You brought a few things with us. The big rock you brought that's kind of like a gray and dusty on the outer side if you're looking at SuperTalk TV. And then it's beautifully polished on the front.
Right.
So I would see that out, wherever and think, it's a rock. How did you know that was laying underneath it?
Well, I didn't.
Okay, fair. So what about that rock said, made you pick that up?
Well, you look for a rock that's heavy. Mm-hmm. You look for a rock that's smooth and not granular. If it's granular and such, you figure it's going to crumble, it won't polish. And so those are the different things that you look for. And if it's dense and heavy and smooth and not sandstone, doesn't have the sandstone feel to it, that sort of thing, then I just polish a little bit of it. And if I polish a little bit of it, I can tell if it's going to be something worthwhile.
Yeah, you can hold it right there. If they're looking at SuperTalk TV, they can see that, John. So if they're looking close enough, or if you're looking close enough, you've got these like cells. It almost looks like a turtle shell. Mm-hmm. What are those specific for? Or what do those mean in terms of on a rock?
So those were the little corals, individual living organisms. And they build a little wall and build a community. And so your coral reef is nothing more than a lot of little tiny organisms that are reproducing and growing to form this coral reef. And a coral, which is what this is right here, that coral is going to form a reef or a bank or something like that.
So will you continue to polish that, John? Is your work done with that rock?
For me, it's done. I got a chance to see what I wanted to see, and I don't want to damage it anymore. It's pretty just the way it is. It tells me a story.
It does tell you a story. What other rocks in your collection tell you a story?
Well, a lot of these rocks, this one right here, they can't see it. It's too small. It's called unakite, and it's got some black in it, but basically it's got orange and green patterns in there. And what you find out when you start looking at rocks that have these different colors is that the term mineral refers to a solid substance that has a particular crystalline formation and a specific composition, and that the minerals go together to form rocks. And so you look at this and you see all these different colors. Those are different minerals that are in there. And that these specific minerals, when they combine, then you wind up with something like unakite, or you wind up with a different type of agate, this sort of thing. And it is interesting because you hear the Gem and Mineral Society. Mm-hmm. You don't hear about the Gem, Rock, and Fossil Society. And really, rocks are nothing more than a bunch of minerals mixed together, giving you a specific blend with specific color.
Is there a rock that's native to Mississippi, John, that you have yet to find yourself?
Oh, gosh, I'm sure there's several.
Is there one that you're like on the search for when you're out there? You're like looking for it to add.
I still like to look for fossils, for fossilized wood, for petrified wood. I still like to look for that. But there's not anything specific, I guess, for me.
Till you find it, and then you go, yes, this was it. I needed this in my life.
Yeah. There are agates out there that have come from all over the central part of the U.S. that have different colors, like the reds and the greens, not commonly found in Mississippi. Most of the time, the agates you find have grays and blacks and browns, but they don't have bright colors to them. But they're out there.
You just have to find them.
You just have to find them.
And maybe you'll see them at the 66th Gem and Mineral Show at the Trademark. So, John, do we need tickets before? Can we get tickets when we get there?
You can do either way. You can go on the website and you can get tickets before, and you have it on your phone and get a pass. Mm-hmm. Or you can get tickets there. Adults are $8, students are $3, scouts and scoutmasters in uniform are $2. Children 5 and under are free. And we love to see the kids because, it's the future.
Mm-hmm. And they have things to do, so parents bring them out.
They
and grandparents.
Do. Yeah, right.
And if you go by and see John, what table will you be at, John?
I will be selling tickets mainly.
Well, hopefully someone will tell you hi, that they heard it here on Good Things. We'll have to do this for the 67th next year. How about that, John?
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
You guys stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.